Guess who's back? Back again. Ricky's back. Send this video to a friend. Oh! What's up, guys? We're back with Marshall Mathers, Eminem, The Death of Slim Shady, parentheses, Coup de Grace. Eminem is somebody that needs absolutely no introduction. Over 84 million listeners, monthly listeners at that, on Spotify. Songs like Without Me, Mockingbird, Real Slim Shady, Lose Yourself. If you don't know who Eminem is, you probably weren't born here, or you're probably 9 years old. The Death of Slim Shady is his first studio album in 4 years since Music to Be Murdered By. I'm an Eminem fan. He's one of those guys that no matter what happens, no matter what bad music that he puts out, he has too much good music and has too much talent for me not to give him a listen. I think it's unfair to the art of music and the art of rap and the art of creating a sound if you don't give someone like Eminem a chance just because he's whatever. And that goes for a lot of different other artists too. I think there's just certain people that you just have to give a chance to if you really enjoy music, because you never know if they can surprise you again. So we got Coup de Grace, The Death of Slim Shady, 19 songs, an hour and 4 minutes, but 4 of those are skits, so 15 songs and under an hour of music. For the way that Eminem likes to roll, that's actually a pretty decent sample size, I'd say. And I think that actually helped him in this case. To get right into the grades, I gave the production an 8. There was nothing wrong with it. And I know in the past, when it comes to Eminem, he tends to have some pretty crazy, weird production because he loves being different. He loves being in your face. He loves being controversial. He loves just being a thorn in your side. But throughout this album, I thought majority of the decisions were relatively normal. I thought there was no songs that made me hear something and I thought it wasn't good. I just thought songs like Toby could have a little bit more of an efforted production. And even songs like Houdini, I understand the vibe. It just was an interesting production choice overall throughout that song. But overall, there weren't too many moments where I was like, what is this? For vocals and lyrics, this is obviously one of the biggest talking points no matter what Eminem does. For vocals, I gave him 4.5. He seems to have reached and visited every single kind of vocal prowess that he has in general on this album. My only 0.5 taken away was that I just thought there could have been a song like Toby or a song like Head Honcho where there seems to be more of a little pounding rap vibe when you're really trying to bob your head and things like that. I thought his energy was just a little bit shorter on those kind of tracks. But even off the beginning song, Renaissance, it's hard to complain. If you like Eminem, you're going to like the sound that he has on this album. For lyrics, I did give him a 3.5. I thought there were too many Jenner bars, whether you want to call him Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner or whatever. There was at least, it felt like 10 different Bruce Jenner's song bars. There were a lot of Christopher Reeves lyrics throughout the entire album as well. And a lot of Gen Z cancel bars, which is cool. But like Andre 3000 said, if you had seen his one of his recent interviews, part of the reason why he isn't making music is because he feels like he doesn't have anything to talk about. And I think this is an interesting example of when somebody's obviously still super passionate about lyrics, who's super passionate about his craft. But how much do you really talk about when you're 51 and have 7 or 8 full-length albums already out? So I gave him a 3.5 because I just thought that none of them were objectively bad bars, but I do think some topics and ideas were just a little bit overused throughout the album. But there were some really high moments as well. For cohesion, I did give it a 10. It's pretty easy to sit through this album, surprisingly. I've found myself listening to this album front to back more and more without even noticing that I've finished the album. Again, aside from the skits, there's only 15 songs. And if you listen to almost each and every song, it does seem to have this constant battle of Eminem, Marshall Mathers versus Slim Shady. And I thought the general idea of the entire album did flow well together pretty well enough. For originality, I gave it a 7. I thought that this had a few too many formulaic moments. Eminem is obviously one of the biggest artists in history, and he knows what works and he knows what doesn't. And I think there were a lot of moments where a moment worked. Even a song like Houdini, where he literally plays off of his own song, I think this album was a little bit safer. So I gave it a 7 because he was just going back to what he knows kind of works. But it was still not bad. For quality, I gave it a 10. I think Eminem, to me anyway, is one of those people that constantly shows how much they care about the rap game and how much they care about their craft and how much they need to do it for their own mental health, it seems. And so I gave him a 10. I think a song like Guilty Conscious 2 is a great example of how he still cares. He's still moving through life. He's still trying to figure out himself. Obviously, if you know about any of Eminem's previous antics, he can be quite an interesting human being, to say the least. And a song like Guilty Conscious 2 really shows how, one, transparent and honest he is with himself now, but two, just the general idea of seeing yourself in the past and seeing what you've done and wondering why you did that, but being able to put yourself back in that place and understand why you did that, because depending on where you are in life, hindsight is 2020. You can often look back and say, hey, yeah, I did this because of this. So Guilty Conscious 2, for example, seems to be really important to him in understanding his relationship with himself and explaining that to us through his ears as to why he was maybe doing some of that crazy stuff. I think songs like Temporary were a highlight of the album. I'm sure if I was his daughter, that would be a pretty heavy song to listen to. So I thought that was a great way to bring the album back on down to earth with a real sense of actuality and actual songwriting. I think the last song with Jelly Roll, Somebody Save Me, again, showing that he knows how he has this formula. We could have put Rihanna on that and it would have been a massive hit like he's had in the past, but he put Jelly Roll and I thought that was a solid choice. But that's that classic Eminem heartbreaking chorus with hard-hitting lyrics and just back and forth and just going through that formula that he knows has worked in the past. Overall, I think it's hard for me to give this album a rating. With an 8, a 4.5 for lyrics, 3.5 vocals, cohesion 10, originality 10, quality 10. That brings him to an 86. I think this is fair. I think if you like Eminem, this album might have a dose of everything that you like about him. There weren't too many obnoxious moments for people that don't like M. It's a good album. I think it's difficult for me to say that because his last few albums have just felt a little bit forced and he's just trying to find something that works. But here he went back to what he knows, what works. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. He's even breaking records as well with this album, with scoring the Spotify's biggest opening of 2024. And I thought overall, this is a solid project for somebody who obviously still cares about his craft. He still cares about making music. And he still wants to be an artist. I think he should get some credit for that. And again, I really don't have anything bad truly to say about this album. If you like Eminem, I think you'll love it. If you don't like Eminem, I don't think this is a bad idea to give a chance to give a shot at, to see if he can kind of rein you in. I'm curious to see where he goes from here. It doesn't seem like he wants to stop anytime soon. Overall, Marshall Mathers, Eminem, The Death of Slim Shady, Coup de Gras, I like it.